This college football coverage is sponsored by Bob Moore Kia of Edmond.
Welcome, everyone. Just going back through last week's off week. Guys practiced Monday through Thursday. Thought they did a really good job. Just continuing to push ourselves, went against each other in some instances, just trying to get good on good work. But the guys really worked in a positive way, and feel like we're in good shape coming into this week. A little bit better health-wise. Keith Ford is expected to practice today, and Trevor Knight, after being banged up in the last game against Kansas State, was able to practice the last couple days of the week last week, and is in good shape, better coming in to today's practice. Going to Iowa State again, a team that's really played in a lot of tough, tight games. Much better than their record indicates at 2-5. You look at the great game they just played down in Austin against Texas, 45-45 game, and Texas makes two big plays with 20 seconds to go to put themselves in field goal position and win the game. But a really hard-fought game by both teams, and a high-scoring game. You could see Sam Richardson, their quarterback, continues to make improvement and being comfortable in what they're doing. Coach Mangino is doing a great job there with the offensive team. You could see again in their last several games they've really put up more points, more yards, much more consistent in how they're playing. Defensively, always with Coach Rhodes, they always play very disciplined, sound, hard, play hard in the way they play. So, they've had a few other, I think K-State was another 3-4 point game down towards the end, that they lost in a close one as well. But so we've got to, continue to make improvement to go up there and win. The turnover battle will be a big deal that cost us in the last game, but believe for the most part through the year we've been really positive in that situation. So hopefully we could just play our best and go up and give ourselves a chance to win.
What do you got to do to get your defense to play better?
Well, in some instances, I thought they did do a lot better job a week ago. We were much better on third downs. As much as anything, a little tackling, a time or two when they had a big play where you miss a tackle. So just a little bit of fundamentals, being in the right spot, tackling, and at times giving up a big pass. When we have a guy in coverage, we've got to be able to cover him.
The splits that people are using against you, I know you saw a lot of it when you were in the 4-3. Now that you're in the 3-4, how do those splits bother you, and how do you try to combat it at this point now that you've seen them a couple of weeks?
Yeah, they really weren't a big issue in the game. The one play that hurts us with the quarterback run game, they don't have big splits, and we miss a tackle. The rest of the time, the running backs, they didn't account for a whole lot of yards up in there, So we've got to, we're going to do some movement and do some things to combat it, but they haven't been a major issue whatsoever.
Bob, did you hear back from the Big 12 on Ripkowski's ejection?
I did, and they deemed it a correct call, and so it's just something he's got to either change his, in that brief second, change his angle or leave his head up or go to the knee or do something differently, and so it'll be a teaching point, for the team.
Would the correct interpretation of that rule simply be that you're responsible for the crown of your helmet, whether you're getting low or getting high? It doesn't much matter.
That's part of it. Yeah, that is part of it. And listen, it's the correct thing we've been doing the last 2 years. There's been far fewer hits that way, far fewer serious injuries. The fact that now they review it, is a positive. So I think it's. I already gave the example, Deron Neal. I think the Tennessee game had a major one against him, but he was hit here in the chest as opposed to the head. He'd been out a week or two in the old days. Now he was out in 2-3 plays and he was able to come back in, So it's much smarter what we're all doing.
Bob, you've been, obviously Mark Mangino really, really well. He's been an offensive coordinator before. Is he changed at all? Is it the same Mark Mangino, or what are they doing at Iowa State offensively?
Yeah, they're it's a lot of things that are similar. He's spreading it out. You see the quarterback, ability to run and throw, and they don't overdo it with them running, but he's athletic enough. He escapes some pockets and does some things like that. But it's well balanced. They're going to try to run and throw it. But similar attack that we were seeing from most people with the 10 personnel meaning no tight ends and 4 wides, or 11 personnel with 3 wides and a tight end, and the tight end's either on the line or in a fullback position. You're seeing that from about everybody. So very similar.
What's going on with Charles Walker and any other injuries?
Charles, I should have said that too, is expected to practice today. Matt Diamond has been practicing. I don't think there's anyone else. Derek Woods, he's still out, last I heard.
Coach, what do you think when you look at the SEC teams beating each other up, Big 12 teams beating each other up, but the SEC teams are staying ahead of the Big 12 teams in the polls?
I can't sit there and, listen, I've been in that debate, enough. So not during the season, and you guys can debate it all you want. I think there's a lot of parity everywhere. When you look at all these teams and you look with Kansas State and Auburn, the way that game turned out and how they played against them. So, you draw your comparisons however you want.
When you've got a poll out, though, on Tuesday, and you can look at that and say, okay, these are the people that are actually deciding things, does that get you into the fray a little bit, and if you see something you don't agree with?
Well, again, it may not. I don't know. We'll just have to see where how they see everything compared to the way everyone else sees it. But it's you just have to wait and see where it goes.
What is it that makes Zach Sanchez so good at pulling down interceptions?
Zach has had a great run. He's anticipation. He's got the quickness in the hands to get his body in position to intercept the balls instead of, running into people or almost getting it, So he's got the hands, the anticipation, the quickness, speed to cut in front of them and make those kind of plays. And he's had a bunch of big returns off of them, too, not just picks.
Bubby, Cody Thomas came in the game under bad circumstances the other day and I thought played well. Does that change your mind on anything in terms of if you had to go to another quarterback because of injury, or you didn't want to run Trevor a lot, but it looks like now if you had to go to a Cody Thomas, it wouldn't be disaster.
Well, it can change things to a degree, but that was really pleasing to see Cody come in and be so poised and ready to play and also. And he looked good, the first few days there while Trevor was out last week. He did a nice job in there. So, it can change things to some degree.
Bob, why exactly was Trevor out?
I'm not going to say. Why would I tell you? You're looking at me like that's unusual. He's a quarterback. If everybody knows what's injured on him, then they go target it, right? You're not a betting guy, are you? He's going to play, so don't worry about it. Fair? Yeah.
Is there any?
I mean, I generally, if guys I know are going to play with an injury, why be specific with it, right? If he was out, I would say so. There's no sense in someone being able to take advantage of that injury, whether it's an ankle or something else,
Is there anybody on offense or defense that may get more playing time now than they've been getting?
Micaiah Quick has shown, really handled his situations in there the other day really well. Outside of that,
What's going on with Stephen Parker on defense?
he played a lot. He played the whole game. He was the first guy in at nickel, so he's played a ton already, and he will continue to.
You see anything out of any other young receivers? I know Austin Bennett got in late in the first half, made a big catch, had to drop him, made a big catch. Anybody
Yeah, had a
else?
drop, had a catch. That's 50-50, So, but, it was good to see him make the catch when we needed it and put us in, down there to help get in, in scoring position. But, they continue to make some improvement.
Bob, the fact that you really only had two, Duran and Sterling, it seemed like they've been pretty consistent all year. Has that affected how fast you can play on offense? It seems like you used to having 5 or 6 receivers that you guys feel pretty good about.
Yeah, but I don't feel it has. In the end, if we were rotating guys in, that allows the defense to substitute and slows you down. So. I don't feel that's been a major factor, in our tempo.
Sterling has really accepted a leadership role this year. How much did having guys like Stills and Justin Brown, those guys, help him when he was a young player, grow into the role he is now?
I'm sure they did. Those guys, Kenny in his last year here really became a strong leader, and Justin Brown, even though he was only here the 1 year, the way he carried himself and worked was definitely a leader. And even Jalen Saunders, same kind of thing, really, in the way they practiced and tried to develop their craft, their route running and things like that were really great workers. So I'm sure they had an effect on him.
How has DGB been practicing?
Really good. He's really worked hard. I tell you where it's really been noticeable. Well, two things. He's been like the scout team player of the week a bunch of times. So he's really getting great work there, making us work, and he's really changed his body. He's really been in the weight room hard with Coach Schmidt, and with all his strength training, his size and ability, he's really improved in all those areas.
You and Baker Mayfield just go back and forth winning that award?
They're in it a lot, Those guys they share it, but we got other guys that are with them that are really doing a good job.
Bob, all losses are bad. You don't like any of them. Are they easier to take, or are they harder to take when you actually play well? Which I think you played well against Kansas State. You just had a couple of plays that went wrong and ended up beating you.
Yeah, it stinks both ways. I mean, I like not playing well and winning and everyone complaining about it much more than, or not playing well and winning, and then everyone complaining than I do, playing fairly well. And like you said, you just have a couple plays and it's, it changes everything and you lose. That's a lot worse.
Michael Honeycutt felt bad, obviously, for missing the field goal at the end. Do you talk to the kickers after that, or is he a senior? I mean, he's been through it a lot.
Yeah, I talked to him after the game, of course. In fact, I be quite honest, my emotion after the game was more for him than anything. I just felt for him that he'd have to go home and sit with that. And, so, but, you got to keep going. So I saw him Monday, put my arm around him again. How you feeling? He's all right. He had a smile. He goes, he was positive. And then Tuesday we do our live kicking, amongst other days, but Tuesday's a big day. He bombed it. He was killing it. I mean, he went back to doing a few fundamentals and making sure that those were all sharp. But I mean, I said to him, he said, I know. I mean, he hit the ball better than I've ever seen him hit it. So how it happens, I don't know. It's just unfortunate.
Did he lose any of those fundamentals on any kicks he made earlier in the game that then sort of unraveled later?
Could possibly. It's something. That can happen. And or
aware or unaware of it?
You'd have to ask him. Yeah.
Do you think it's changed? Has it changed over, say, the last 10 years? It seems like everybody, including yourself, you're playing more close games. The difference between maybe the middle of the league and the top of the league is condensed. And
in most leagues.
Yeah. Perhaps so. And so, you can't. A couple of mistakes in the old days, you throw a pick six, you could miss chip shot field goal, and survive it. Nowadays, you might not.
No, I think that's very fair to say in the way that everybody's playing now, and the parity and how tight games are with everyone. Like I said, every league, it's tough. If you make a few critical mistakes, it's going to be really difficult to win. Yeah, it's like that in most leagues right now.
You guys got some criticism after the West Virginia game for giving up a lot of yards, and against TCU. Given what those teams have done since then, looking back at it, was your defense maybe a little better than we thought at the time, especially given TCU's, 58 and then 82?
Well, it's still not good enough for what we expect. We want more. But, yeah, it is fair to compliment or to see what these other teams are doing to everyone else. If you're gonna compare apples to apples, it's, they're pretty difficult in the way they're playing, to hold down. Now, again, we're not accepting it. We want to continue to to be better in a, whether it be 1-2 series here or there or 1-2 plays here and there can make it different for us.
You said you'd rather play poorly and win than play well and lose. Does that make it tougher to coach too when you played well and you lose because you're essentially trying to get guys to be better in critical situations?
Yeah, but as a coach, you point out those. We'll go to positives here. I mean, you have to point out both. Here are the critical mistakes. We can be better, in every part of the game. 1 or 2 plays in any situation, we've got a chance to change the outcome. But here are some things we did do really well against a really good team, and so build on it. Avoid the critical mistakes. Keep building on it for more consistency, and put yourself in a better position to win next week.
Bob, with Keith back, if he's healthy, shows you go back to 3 backs, running 3 backs all the time.
In all likelihood, if he's back to full speed, Keith's a guy that showed early on he can make some big plays, and and can help that way.
Another passing option too, I think.
Yes. He is really good out of the backfield, definitely.
What's Keith's attitude been like here in this rehabilitation process?
Keith's been good. He's been training hard. It's a little extra lifting, but been in meetings, been on the field paying attention. So he's he's doing what all guys rehabbing do.
Bob, with the way this season in particular is working out, 1 loss isn't killing anybody. We're down to the major conferences. We're down to 2 unbeatens. It's not even November 1st. 2 losses has always been sort of the death knell. Is there
Until LSU sort of changed that.
LSU thing.
Yeah.
Is the one example. Do you still hold hope that, hey, just things could happen and let's play it out and see what happens?
There's always hope, and our deal is always with the conference first. So, teams have won the conference with 2 losses. So our job is just to win this week. 1 at a time, keep trying to get better, improve the situation, improve the season each week if we're able to, and who knows what'll happen at the end of it. No one would have anticipated what happened a year ago. So you just got to try and keep improving at every opportunity you can.
Coach, in the past, during bye weeks, you performed self-evaluation with you and the coaching staff and what you've done in the first few games. Did you guys do that this off?
Well, we do it weekly, so sure. Am I going to share that with all of you? No. So good, good try. So.
Coach, mobile quarterbacks have had some success against you guys this season. How concerned are you with that? What can you do differently, considering the fact that you're facing another one this week?
Yeah, mobile quarterbacks have had some success against mostly everybody, So, we've got to do a good job. More than anything, where I think where we've been hurt with that is scrambling. And our pass rush needs to stay in our lanes and keep a guy closed in or within, grasp of getting him. And we've too much avoided that and allowed a guy to pick up a critical 3rd down or a big 3rd down window to throw the ball out of, and we've got to do a better job there. The other parts of it, some of the running game, again, we have the 1 run a week ago, but we miss a tackle, and the linebacker's in the wrong spot. So the rest of it we've handled fairly well.
What is your job like, and what's the atmosphere like after a loss that next week compared to a victory? In other words,
not much different.
It's not much. It's different for us. The fans, it's way different.
Sure.
So how are you able to, if it's not different, how are you able to keep it
Can't
the
be
same.
different because we got to go about our process of winning and practicing and getting prepared to play the same, whether you win or lose. Each week's its own business, and you've got to go back and win or lose. What was good, what was bad, what can we check, what can we correct? How are we going to practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? And like I said, it's relatively the same, but we can make little minor adjustments to it to focus on a particular area, and we do. But as far as breaking down the tape and doing our analysis and where do we want to go from here, that happens every week the same way.
Were there any thoughts of bringing Mark Mangino back here after the Kansas deal?
Sure. I'm not going to detail that, but there's between he and I, there was thought of it.
Will you be happy to see him again? You competed with and against him for a lot of years.
Absolutely. I don't like seeing him across the way, but much as I don't with Coach Snyder and 3/4 of that staff that I coached with as well. So you hate. In these situations where you have to do it. But I keep in touch with Mark, so I'm glad he's doing well, and he's in the conference, and I'm sure he'll continue to make them better.